Hi, and welcome to today's sleep story. I'm Lara, and tonight we'll go on a gentle journey together. A story about a young girl named Sara. Close your eyes. Let the world around you fade, and take a deep, calming breath. Imagine yourself wrapped in a warm, comforting blanket, feeling safe and secure. Sara's story begins in a small, humble village, but her spirit carries her far beyond the boundaries of that place. Let's drift into her world, a world where dreams are made and magic unfolds. Sara was born in a small, quiet village where dreams were often unfulfilled, and rarely anyone was driven enough to leave to start a new life. Her home was modest, just a tiny cottage with a thatched roof that leaked during heavy rain, and walls that creaked in the wind. Her family didn't have much. Her father worked long hours as a farmer, tending to the land, and her mother took care of Sara and her younger brother, Jonah. Money was always tight, and many nights they went to bed with just a small, simple meal of bread and broth. But despite the lack of wealth, there was always love in their home. Sara's mother would sing lullabies to her children each night, her soft voice carrying through the small cottage, making it feel warm and safe. Sara loved these moments, cuddled up close to her mother, the sound of her voice lulling her to sleep. It was in these quiet moments that Sara began to dream. Dreams of a life filled with more than just survival. A life where she could change her family's fortune. As she grew older, those dreams only grew stronger. Sara noticed how her parents struggled, how her father's hands were rough and calloused from years of hard labour, and how her mother's eyes held a sadness she tried to hide. Sara vowed that one day she would make things better. She didn't know how, but she knew that if she worked hard, something wonderful could happen. As Sara reached her teenage years, she became more determined. The village school was small, with just one teacher who taught all the children. But Sara was the brightest student in her class. She loved to learn, especially when it came to reading. Books became her escape, her window to the world beyond the village. She would spend hours at the small, dusty library, devouring stories of faraway lands, of people who had overcome great challenges, and of possibilities she hadn't even imagined. One day, when she was about 15 years old, Sara's teacher, Mr. Thomas, noticed her potential. He was an old man with a kind heart and a deep belief in the power of education. He saw how Sarah's eyes lit up whenever she learnt something new, and how her hand would shoot up eagerly in class. Mr. Thomas decided to help Sarah in any way he could. "Sarah," he said one day after class, "I see something special in you. You have a thirst for knowledge, and that's a gift. I want to help you pursue your dreams." Sarah's heart raced with excitement. No one had ever spoken to her like this before. She had always known she wanted more out of life, but now someone else believed in her too. Mr. Thomas began lending her more advanced books, teaching her extra lessons after school, and encouraging her to think beyond the village. He told her about scholarships and opportunities in the city, about universities where she could continue her education. The more Sara learnt, the more her dreams expanded. She began to see a future where she could break free from the cycle of poverty that had trapped her family for generations. When Sara turned 18, Mr. Thomas helped her apply for a scholarship to a prestigious university in the city. It was a long shot. There were many applicants, and the competition was fierce. But Sara worked harder than she ever had before. She spent long nights studying by the dim light of a candle, poring over textbooks and writing essays. She knew this was her chance, and she wasn't going to let it slip away. Finally, the day came when the letter arrived. Sara's heart pounded as she tore it open, her hands trembling. As her eyes scanned the words, she felt a wave of disbelief wash over her. "Congratulations, Miss Sara Adams. You have been awarded a full scholarship." She couldn't believe it. She had done it. She had actually done it. But with the excitement came a pang of guilt. She looked around the tiny cottage, at her parents who had sacrificed so much for her, and at her little brother, who still had so many years ahead of him. How could she leave them behind? How could she chase her dreams when they still struggled every day? Sara spent the next few days deep in thought. She wanted to go to the city more than anything, but she didn't want to abandon her family. It was her mother who finally helped her make the decision. "Sara," her mother said gently one evening, "your father and I have always wanted the best for you. This is your chance to make something of yourself, to do what we couldn't. Don't let our struggles hold you back. Go. Make us proud. We'll be fine." With tears in her eyes, Sara hugged her mother tightly. It was the hardest decision she had ever made, but she knew it was the right one. She promised herself that she would make the most of this opportunity, not just for her own sake, but for her family's as well. The city was everything Sara had imagined and more. Bustling streets filled with people from all walks of life, towering buildings that seemed to touch the sky, and an energy that buzzed through the air. But it was also overwhelming. The pace was fast, and the people were different from those in her village. She felt out of place, like a small fish in a vast ocean. University was challenging too. The classes were harder than anything she had experienced before, and the other students seemed so confident, so sure of themselves. There were times when Sara doubted whether she belonged there at all. She missed her family, missed the simplicity of village life, and sometimes she wondered if she had made a mistake. But whenever those doubts crept in, she reminded herself of why she was there. She thought of her father's worn hands, her mother's tired smile, and her brother's hopeful eyes. She couldn't give up. Not now. Not after coming so far. Sara threw herself into her studies with a determination that surprised even her. She spent long hours in the library, asking questions in class, and seeking help when she needed it. Slowly but surely, she began to find her footing. She made friends, found mentors, and started to see the city not as a daunting place, but as a land of endless opportunities. One day, during her second year, Sara received news from home. Her father had fallen ill, and the crops had failed that season. The little money they had saved was quickly running out. Sara was devastated. She wanted to go back, to help her family, but she knew that dropping out would mean losing the scholarship, and with it, her chance to make a better life for all of them. It was a tough time, but Sara found strength in her studies. She began working part-time jobs to send money back home, even as she continued to excel in her classes. The workload was heavy, and there were nights when she barely slept, but she never lost sight of her goal. As Sara neared the end of her university studies, she had transformed into a confident, capable young woman. Her professors spoke highly of her, and she had become a leader among her peers. But more importantly, she had found a purpose. Sara wanted to use her education to help others like her, people who came from humble beginnings, who faced obstacles that seemed insurmountable. In her final year, Sara was offered an internship at a prestigious law firm. It was an incredible opportunity, one that could open many doors for her. But Sara had a different vision. She wanted to work with organisations that provided legal aid to the poor, helping those who could not afford representation. It was not a glamorous job. and it certainly didn't pay as well as the law firm, but it was where her heart was. After graduating with honours, Sara took a job with a non-profit organisation that provided free legal services to those in need. It was challenging work, but it was also deeply fulfilling. Every day she met people who reminded her of her family, of the struggles they had faced. She fought for them, using the knowledge she had gained to give them a voice, to help them stand up against injustice. As the years passed, Sara's reputation grew. She became known as the fierce advocate for the underprivileged, someone who would fight tirelessly for those who couldn't fight for themselves. She was offered higher paying jobs, positions of power and influence, but she always chose the path that allowed her to make the most difference. Years later, Sara stood on the stage of a grand auditorium, receiving an award for her work in social justice. The room was filled with applause, but as she looked out at the audience, all she could think about was the journey that had brought her here. She thought about her parents, who had sacrificed so much for her. She thought about Mr. Thomas, who had believed in her when she didn't even believe in herself. She thought about the challenges she had faced, the nights of doubt and fear, and the strength she had found within herself to keep going. As she accepted the award, Sara felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the recognition, but for the life she had been able to build. She had come from so little, but she had never let that define her. Instead, she had used her experiences to fuel her determination, to drive her forward, and to help others who face similar struggles. In her acceptance speech, Sara spoke about her journey. She talked about the importance of never giving up, of believing in oneself, even when the odds seemed impossible. She spoke about the power of education, of kindness, and of the support she had received from those who had seen her potential. But most importantly, she spoke about hope. Hope that no matter where you start in life, you can achieve great things. Hope that even in the darkest of times, there is always a light waiting to be found. Hope that with determination, kindness, and a little bit of help, anyone can change their life for the better. As the applause filled the room once more, Sara knew that her journey was far from over. There were still many people who needed help, many battles to be fought, but she was ready. She had faced the challenges of her past, and she had come out stronger. Now, she would continue to fight, not just for herself, but for everyone who needed a little bit of hope. And so, as you drift off to sleep tonight, remember Sarah's story. Remember that no matter where you are in life, there is always a way forward. Dreams can come true, even in the face of adversity. You have the strength within you to overcome any challenge, to rise above any obstacle. Let Sarah's journey inspire you, and let your dreams guide you as you rest peacefully, knowing that tomorrow brings new opportunities, new hopes, and new possibilities. Good night.